Holy crap, they made a controller for that? I want that now. All right, welcome to episode 158 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me this week, Steven.
Hello.
With a controller that I really want. Rachel.
Hello.
He's muted. And Chase.
How's it going?
Chris isn't here because he wants to continue the myth of him and Rachel possibly being the same person. I know we had evidence before, but you know what? What's evidence nowadays? All right, so let's jump into what we've been doing. It's been an interesting week. We have lots to talk about. Off the bat, this is mostly going to be Switch 2 talk. Like, holy crap, we finally saw some stuff. But before we get to that, Steven, what have you been doing?
One's obvious. I've played Multiverses and ZZZ some more.
Shocking.
It's coming to their end of their season, so it's getting to the point where I can relax and play other stuff. So I tried the first Berserker Kazan that came out yesterday, the demo.
Oh.
From the Dungeon Fighter people. It's definitely a Soulsborne. Died at the first boss because you have to learn to do charge moves in order to defeat him. So I was like, okay, this sucks. I want to just be able to dodge, parry, thrust. And instead, I just dodge, parry, die. As well as that, I've watched a documentary, Glitter and Greed, about Lisa Frank. So you can figure out how horrible of a person she is.
Good Lord.
You find out a lot of tea, basically. But yeah, that was interesting to watch. My new favorite anime now, Sakamoto Days. It's basically if John Wick was a family man. It's amazing. It's funny. It's gory. It's all the things you want in an anime.
It sounds like Mr. Nobody. Have you ever seen that movie?
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh my God, it's fantastic. I love that movie.
And then the highlight of my week is I've been playing Fantasia Neo Dimension. I've been loving every minute of it. All RPGs that come out this year suck because this game exists right now. I like the new mechanics. I like how it plays. And every time I'm just like, I'm going to just play it just until the next save crystal. That never happens. I just keep playing it. And I'm like, yeah, I can feel some of this is an extension of Final Fantasy VI bleeding into this game. So I'm fully invested now.
I've also been playing that.
Nice. All right, Chase, what about you? What have you been doing?
Been continuing my dredge through the zone in Stalker 2, and then recently we switched over to a new campaign in D&D, my group and I did, and it's basically like if the Planescape game was in D&D, so it's fun.
All right. Rachel, what about you? What you been doing?
Well, I've also been playing Fantasia Neo Dimension. I've just gotten out of the first town and got to the forest, so I haven't gotten very far in it yet. But I really like the art style. I like the voice acting. I haven't witnessed, of course, the dimensional mechanic yet, but I was kind of like jump scared by the Crimson people when you go up to the light tower thing.
Oh, Jesse and James, basically.
Basically, Jesse and James and Meowth, but Meowth is another man. So that was it's really good. I expected it to be at least like okay, but I didn't expect it to be as good as it is, and I'm barely even into the game.
Yeah, before you leave the forest, you'll learn about the Neo Dimension.
Cool. I'm excited for this. I'm still playing Mario Odyssey. Not as much though because I'm playing Fantasian. I picked up my copy of Grace's F yesterday, which I haven't even installed it yet on my PlayStation. I've almost gotten to the end of Dragon Prince on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have watched that. The last 2 seasons came out. Oh, it's very good. It's very Avatar The Last Airbender in style, where each season is a book. And it's very good. It's got 3D animation. I think this last season that came out is the last season. I think that there's going to be more series in the same universe, but it's an excellent show. I love it a lot. Like, it's very, very good. I actually have not liked any animated television show in recent memory as much as I like this one. It's just good. And then I finally finished that book I was reading, The Last Mile in Sunder City by Luke Arnold. Very good if you guys haven't read it, or anyone listening hasn't read it and would like to read it. It's like it's a dark, gritty detective novel, but it's also a fantasy novel. But the elements of fantasy, you're not experiencing them in the way that you would normally, because all of the magic in the world that this story exists in is gone. So it's kind of sad in that way, where it's like the aftermath. But I'm immediately wanted to pick up book 2, which I have, but I was like, oh no, I gotta read some other things first before I get to this, because otherwise I will just blow through that one really quickly. So I decided to start another book on a little higher up on my TBR, which is High Voltage, which, yes, that is spelled correctly in the notes. It's a play on words, and it's by actually 2 people I know, Chris and Jen Sugden. They created this podcast called Victoriosity, and I had the distinct pleasure of meeting them a number of years ago at Podcast Movement down in my neck of the woods. And they're both very lovely people. And I'm really enjoying the book. And then, of course, today I went to the Highland Games. Have you guys ever gone to a Highland Games, like Scottish Games?
I've been to one.
Yeah, the one back up in PC. It's obviously smaller than the one I went to today, but I kind of liked that it was smaller. It was packed. Like, me and my friend Josh had to park at a church that offered a free there was free shuttles going to the 2 different locations off site, and bringing people into the Highland Games. I have never seen like so many people at an outdoor event like this. This was nuts. And I think it was because tomorrow it's also going on, but tomorrow's supposed to be rainy all day. Like, there's a 99% chance of rain tomorrow. And even though that would be really close to the weather in Scotland, nobody wants to be trudging through the mud and the dirt and the grass and the rain at a festival like that. So everyone
got the rain that's heading your way right now.
Yeah. So everyone that would have gone tomorrow is going today. So there was that. But going for the music alone was worth it. I discovered this band called Albanach, and I am in love with their music now. I'm a little upset that their music's not on Spotify, but it is on SoundCloud. They're a pretty traditional pipe and drum band, and then they use this other instrument which sounds like a didgeridoo, but it's like there's another instrument that sounds like a didgeridoo but is an Irish instrument, and I would totally butcher the name of it, so I'm not gonna try to say it, but it was excellent and awesome. New obsession unlocked. But anyway, onward to the next person.
Well, that would be me, because I'm the only one left. All right, so for myself, what I've been doing, I finally started playing some more of Diablo 4, which I talked about a little bit beforehand, but yesterday I ended up, because I started with a Necromancer, but yesterday I ended up playing some with the dad guy from our Discord, which he and his family play a lot of Diablo 4. So he brought one of his lower level characters, and I'm air quoting the hell out of that, because he just walked in, he's like, oh, what's that? And just starts killing everything. And I'm like, what's going on? So he was a bit overpowered, which that made it hilarious. But we had fun. We sat there and talked for a little while and played for a bit until I had to eventually make dinner. Beyond that, though, I'm still in the grips of Balatro, or however you want to pronounce it, because that game is addictive. I've managed to beat it a couple of the hands, and I'm working on some newer ones and collecting the cards. Definitely recommend playing that game. So the other one that I picked up today is I finally grabbed Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, which I've got. Oh no, hold on. So wait. Okay, here it is. as I've ended up buying this game 3 times now. I only got to play it for a little bit earlier today, but I'm happy to say it is a really, really good port. It's still a lot of fun. I tried all the different control styles they had, which Rachel will be happy to know I went with buttons over motion. Just this once.
As it should be.
No. Some of them are fun. This one, I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to use the buttons. It's
Only
fine.
if it's forced, like Jungle Beat.
Yeah, Jungle Beat's kind of... You have to play the bongos. That's a whole different thing. Anyways, I'm really liking it. I played through, like I said, the first map, or first part of the island, going from there. A couple extra levels that were only in the 3DS one that show up in there, and then, graphically, it's absolutely beautiful. The sunset level still looks stunning. That's still one of my favorite ones, where everyone's a dark outline, except for Diddy Kong's shirt and his hat and Donkey Kong's tie are still bright red and outlined. Just great to play. So I recommend giving it a shot. And then, of course, I got this little Donkey Kong barrel pen holder, which I'm just going to use to hold styluses, but I got it because I pre-ordered it from GameStop. Why not? And then lastly, I finally finished the last season of Superman and Lois, because I was waiting for that to pop up on Max so I could watch it. That was a really good ending. I liked kind of when they went with it. They had to speed up some stuff a little bit faster through the season because it became their last season. But even, before you start the 4th season, they introduced Doomsday, but it's kind of a new take on Doomsday, and I like how they handle it. But they figure out some interesting ways to kind of deal with Superman's abilities and what to do with him and how their lives go and everything. And it actually had a very satisfying and complete ending to it, which was cool. So highly recommend it. If you like Superman stuff at all, it's definitely there to watch. All right, so we're going to jump into our news because we got some stuff to talk about. All right, so Switch Watch 2025, or Switch 2 Watch 2025, is going to kind of go on hiatus because we finally got the damn reveal trailer. Kinda. So it was 2 minutes, 22 seconds long for the Switch 2 to show off basically the hardware and kind of prove that every leak we saw was basically right. So it's just kind of funny with that one. So the whole thing starts off showing the original Switch and then shows it grow, change over to the Switch 2, which shows the top and bottom ports and things like that. Just kind of goes from there. But you guys have all watched the video for this, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I kind of figured. I went a little far and kind of broke it down frame by frame as I went through it. So we'll just talk about a few of them. So the USB-C ports, top and bottom, have been confirmed. But what I found really interesting is the top one is kind of overbuilt. And it almost looks like it's a mounting point. And the reason I say that, and people kept arguing with me going, oh, it's because it'll keep the cable from flopping around or breaking. USB-C, the framework for that of the cable is already built into it. That's what your cable is for. It's got its own strain relief and everything. And that's why stuff like, Series X controllers and the original Switch and a bunch of other stuff, they'll have the ports on curved or angled surfaces and they're just fine. So I'm thinking this would be for some kind of attachment, and we'll talk about a rumor in a little bit that comes up with that Steven pointed out. We had a power volume headphone jack, which, hey, we still have a headphone jack in 2025. So
Thank God.
yeah, seriously. What I originally was thinking could be a microphone looks like it's actually the light sensor. They moved it. Well, if you look at the Switch now, it's in the bottom left corner. It's a little divot under the screen because it's looking for where reflection's coming from. This one seems to move to the top because I don't see it on the screen on the Switch 2 anymore. But it does look like to the right of the cartridge slot is a little slot that could be a microphone. So we may actually have a mic built into this thing now, which makes sense being that far out because it puts it away from the cooling fans so you don't hear them as much, but could still pick up people if you're playing it. no idea on that one. We verified on the kickstand being a U, that U shape we talked about. So it's going to be about as flexible as the OLED's stand, but doesn't have as much material. So it'll be a little bit lighter, probably cheaper to make.
With you mentioning the light sensor at the top, I was like, oh, does this mean they are going to put the Boktai games on?
Maybe with that patent.
Yeah.
Maybe. Who knows?
Maybe.
It'd be nice.
That would be nice. That would be real nice.
Konami's not going to do that.
No.
I don't know.
Konami'd have to make something.
I don't know.
I'd rather have a Rebirth collection first.
Good point.
Maybe that's why. Maybe this is their chance. We're in the weeds now, but
oh yeah, but that's half the fun. But under the kickstand, we do see where the micro SD slot is, which we talked about last episode, of being the kind of newer, faster SD card that they're
micro
using.
SD Express.
Yes, the Express.
Expensive.
Which, not as much as it could be. It doesn't cost as much as some of the SSDs, but it's definitely it's a little bit of an increase. Some people are thinking the kickstand's going to be too fragile and break, and I was like, it's going to be fine. Do you see the hinges on those things? They're huge. I don't know.
Plus, it has like a stopping point when you're giving it the splits. So
yeah, it goes way down, and then you can kind of bring it back up there, which was nice.
Probably so you can play board games on it.
Ooh.
We'll talk about that in a second here as well. Last thing on the main part of the system I want to talk about that I noticed, and this is kind of a thing with me. So on the Switch, at least with the OLED, the cartridge slot is a pain in the ass to open. Like, okay, I finally got it open. I had to kind of learn. I have a bad habit of biting my nails, and you have to kind of pick at it. The new one seems to be divoted in the back and maybe opening this way, so you can just kind of flick it open. So it's backwards to it, but if it makes it easier to open, I'm cool with that. We have not seen what the cartridges look like. We've only seen Switch 1 cartridges. So nothing on that. But afterwards, we've got to see the Joy-Cons themselves change, which now they have verified that they are larger, including the face buttons and everything being larger. The plus, minus, the home button, and the capture button stayed the same. The mystery C button is actually just a blank square. There was nothing on it.
It's a Discord button.
I think they left whatever icon it actually has off of it, and we won't hear about that until the Direct later on, because I think that's a big part of the operating system and everything with it. The SL and SR buttons that are on the side of the Joy-Cons are way bigger than they were before, so you could use them without having to attach anything, which is great. I, for a little bit, thought both of the controllers had IR sensors because they have that little curve at the bottom. I was like, holy crap, they put it on both. But the more I looked at it, I guess they changed the way the casing is shaped. So that might actually just be the line where the case separates for how they built it. So probably no IR sensor in the controllers anymore, which makes sense.
Though.
Say what?
I said it better have something.
I don't think it's going to have the IR because
I don't want it to have the IR. I want it to have the same tech as the Wiimote. So.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have that because they'd have to move the triggers and stuff. So and we'd have to have a sensor bar, which I don't think they're going to have or anything. So
we'll see. Maybe they'll just have you point the laser at the screen.
Who knows? But yeah, so that was in there. We have no indication if the joysticks are changed. They showed them turning a bunch, and those have gotten larger. So we actually have bigger analog sticks on there now. The little cover at the bottom of the stick seems larger. Which
I don't know if they're Hall effect, but I do know like the newer Joy-Cons that came out have fixed the drift issue.
For the most part,
they added a piece to the inside. I know normal people were adding just pieces of cardboard, but now Nintendo officially put a piece in there to stop the drift.
Yeah,
well, that's good. My favorite thing though was they literally had the Joy-Cons drifting in the trailer.
Yeah, so that was the next part where we showed that the Joy-Cons can become mice, which is great. Show them turning on their side. They go into the new wrist strap attachment, which now kind of raises the controller up a little bit. It's an oval. It's open on the inside, so the new sensor that's right above the connection port can just, when you put it down, operates like a mouse for left and right hand. So there can be games or mini games with 2 mice. All I'm saying, bring back DJ Hero, so you can just kind of. Yep, nobody laughed.
Yeah. I
like that game.
As exciting as it is, I have reservations about that because I don't think anybody has. I don't think most of us have a setup for playing with a mouse.
I mean, tabletop mode's going to be used a lot with it probably, and then a lot of mice, people use them on their couches and other spots. Like someone will probably get one of those little waist tables or whatever that they have that you can just kind of.
It's my hope that Nintendo at least throws us something to help us with it.
I mean, that's the beauty of it being an optical mouse, is they can work on a lot of different materials. They don't have to be on one certain thing. You just can't have it on something that's reflective. That's kind of like a lot of reflectivity.
What if all the trays I have are mirror trays?
Well, then you're just on a lot of cocaine. I don't know. It just sounds like you've invaded a 1980s drug den or something.
Do you not have mirrored trays?
No, why would I have mirrored trays?
Is that just a Southern thing? Like,
I live in Florida.
I know you do. I know you do, but like, well, I mean, I don't have them anymore, but we used to have a ton of like little, like just little trays that would have mirrors on the bottom.
Nope.
Interesting.
We had like old metal trays and things like that. But we never had mirrored ones. We're learning a lot about each other right now.
Yeah.
It should have been questions from last week's episode.
Yes.
Do you have mirrored trays? Good Lord. I mean, we'll have to see kind of how that's going to work. Like, I understand to a point, Stephen, of requiring that, but it's sometimes you're just going to have parts of a system that need a setup. It's like with VR, you're going to use it. You've got to make the space and do all that stuff. Sometimes there's prep work, and it depends on how it uses it. Now, Chase, I think you might be one of the happier ones with this possibility because
people are already saying like Civilization 7 will be the best version on Switch 2 if they utilize the mouse. But
yeah,
I'm still like Chase, my setup, so I was like, it's not very conducive to a mouse.
No, I think that's the only thing that's like, it's a cool thing that they added it, but it's like one of those, it's like the most Nintendo-ass Nintendo thing I could think of that they would do, where they add this cool thing that like nobody's going to take advantage of except like a couple of Nintendo games, maybe a couple of indie developers that are going to be like, oh, you have to use the mouse function for this. So then people are like, okay, well, I got to move my Switch over to like the table to like actually do this or something. Because if you're just like sitting in front of the TV, unless, like what Jeremy said, you have like one of those trays, like a TV tray or something you can pull over.
Well, not even so much that, like they make like, because there's so many things for people using laptops. Like you can just be on a couch and just have the mouse on the arm and just using it. Like I do that all the time.
Well, that's why I hope Nintendo throws us a bone of how they would like us to use it. That's why.
I mean, if you can use a mouse, you can use it, and people use mice in all kinds of places.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't. As far as the Civ 7 thing, like it'd be cool if they take advantage of that, but I have my doubts on that because most developers have pretty much like resolved to just making a PC UI and a console UI and not making them interchangeable, which is really annoying in this day and age.
But since there's a lot of games that use touchscreen, I just hope any game that uses touchscreen just has the mouse as an option.
Well, so that's the thing. Like
that would be good for accessibility.
Because
but like
especially if the indie developers could like patch in mouse functionality to any of their point and clicks, I'd be like, I'm ready.
Mate,
because
you're singing my song. This is what I've been bitching about for ages.
Yeah. Most Switch games don't even use touchscreen because they're like, well, it's in the dock. I'd have to move it. Why should I have to do that?
The worst.
That's the same thing. You have to move it to use touchscreen. You got to.
The worst thing the Switch does that I can say is when you sometimes download a game like a demo, and you didn't scroll down far enough to see that if it was touchscreen only, like a game like Boxville,
But say I only know
when you
one
start up
game
the
that can
when you
touchscreen
start
only.
up the demo, you cannot exit. You have to go to your Switch, pick it up, and use the touchscreen to exit because you're now locked out of going back to your home screen completely because your Joy-Cons all shut off. Or sorry, your Pro Controller shuts off because it's like, this is a touchscreen only game. So there's touchscreen games that do that to your controllers, and I was just like, I don't like this. I want to be able to escape if I pick the game
I
that's
haven't
touchscreen
seen
only.
I haven't seen any games that don't allow you to go to the menu in some way and then
Play Boxville demo. It'll lock you right up.
yeah, I said I only own one game that only used the touchscreen, and it's like a sub game inside of there. Like one cartridge has both titles, and it tells you when you start it up that it's touchscreen. But even then, I can still hit a button and go home. That's weird. Yeah, I didn't think Nintendo would allow them to disable the home button or anything like that. So, let's see here.
We're
But yeah,
down
the say what?
I said I'm like we're down on the general design. I think now.
Oh, we're still in the Joy-Con part as well.
Oh,
So the way that the Joy-Cons connect to the actual Switch and the way this adapter piece clips on there, they apparently go in the bottom and it kind of scissors in, and that's how they're doing it. And that's why the new sound effect is like a clap. It sounds like one of those little like two pieces of wood you clap together in an orchestra.
so it goes from snap now to clap.
Yeah,
Yes.
so everybody gets the clap instead of the snap.
That's
Great.
really interesting.
Yes. And then like some people are worried that the point of connection for the Joy-Cons are saying like, oh, it's so thin it's gonna break. It's like inside the system, it's not sticking out whatsoever.
Yeah.
So you'd have to shove something in there and break it, which don't get me wrong, people
Kids.
are stupid. Someone's gonna do it.
Kids.
Well, it looks like it's got movement. Like it actually has a little
The
bit
best
of
thing I
wiggle.
can tell people is look up YouTube videos of Nintendo's controllers and stuff going through QA, and you can see that other than blatant misuse, they go through a lot of testing. The only thing they didn't the only thing they didn't test for on DSs were people literally cracking them in half, which happens a lot.
Yeah, because there's no stopping that. You can't really do much with it. So, so what do you guys think of the Joy-Con changes?
It better have some kind of sensor. That's all I say.
I don't think we're going to get. They're not doing the sensor for that again.
Because then the amount of games that work with it like drastically grow and change.
What do you mean though? Like, because they're not going to put in like there's nowhere to put that camera into it. Like it's not a Wii remote. They'd have to completely move the triggers and all that stuff out of the way. And
well, again, like we don't know everything yet, but I that's why I wait to see when
we've
the
seen the
website
controller.
updates
We
with
know
what
there's not
games
a
aren't
camera
compatible. Because the only one that makes sense is Labo right now, but there is a growing concern of so what games do not work.
So it hasn't been
Imagine
fully.
we'll get a list as it gets closer.
Well, they said they're going to update it on their website, but that's kind of a cover your ass thing. And I was going to talk about it a little bit later, but we can go and talk about it now. For the backwards compatibility, Labo you already said, because even the OLED can't use those. Like they physically won't fit in there for most of it. And I think some of the other stuff is the new Joy-Cons may not have every function, like the IR camera at the bottom and stuff like that. So there'll be limited compatibility. But from everything we've seen, the Switch 2 will probably still connect to Switch 1 controllers. So Ring Fit will probably still work because you just plug that in and use it. You can use them for multiplayer for some other stuff and everything, which has not been verified yet, but makes sense and gets rid of most of the compatibility issue. The other thing is depending on how they're doing backwards compatibility, if it's a form of emulation or if some developer just makes some weird way a game runs, and it just happens to not be compatible, it kind of covers their butt. Same thing happened with PS4 to PS5 games or Xbox One to Series X. There's always some small percentage of something weird that may not work with the new changes.
Yeah, there's still a lot of questions.
So, but yeah, the general design, they're going with kind of a blue and orange color scheme.
No, it's red.
It's kind of an orangish color
it
from
looks-
everything I've seen.
It
Blue
looks
and pink.
no, it's a reddy pinky color. It looks exactly like the original Joy-Con color that started on there.
It's way lighter because I ran it through Photoshop and it was coming up as an orange.
Well, I was looking at the video on my big screen just an hour or so ago before I got on the show, and it literally showed the original Switch. Then
this is the original Switch Red, and it is way more closer to an orange than this.
I don't agree. That's not what
Well, I
I
mean,
saw.
this is a launch Joy-Con.
I know. I'm just saying. I don't agree.
I'm more in the light blue, light pink. Category.
It still looks like mostly the same colors to me. Like
let's just all agree Nintendo's going to name it something very weird. It won't be blue or orange or blue and red. It'll be like crystal something, and then whatever or whatever color. That's what's going to be hilarious.
New Zealand blue and Australian pink. There you go.
Right. Can't be purple. It's got to be galaxy.
Yeah, no, I'm pulling it up right now, and it looks like the colors of the original.
Yeah, it's different.
Like, I'm just saying, it's just looks exactly like, and I'm pulling up the original Switch, and yep, it's pretty damn close. Maybe like
I think we can all agree that it's nice that they're bigger.
Oh no, I agree with that entirely. The first thing I thought was, oh, they have learned now that a lot of adults have this. A lot of adults want to play this larger controller scheme here. The whole larger system will fit better in adult hands. We're smart. So.
I'll have to send you something because someone actually did a color palette thing for Switch 1 and Switch 2 together. And it is kind of reddish, I'll give you that. But it's definitely not the same original red because it's way faded.
It's not that darker red, but it's more pink.
It's almost like kind of an orangish red. Like
I'm just gonna.
But if it's orange, I'm gouging my eyeball.
A direct comparison thing going on. It looks exactly the same to me. So.
Gotcha. All right.
Well, that'll be on our extra quarters. What color is the Switch 2 controller? Okay.
So, they're going with a more subdued color palette for that. The weird thing is it's not just on the Joy-Con where the rail, or what would have been the rail, the actual connector point is the source of color. It's under the stick itself. And then it's also inside the port of the Switch. So if you ever change Joy-Cons, those two colors are still there, which makes me wonder, do those colors come out? Like, is it a piece you can remove and swap it out with a new one? Or is it just, you're always going to have those two colors inside the hardware?
I kind of like that they've gone with the sleeker all black with the pop of color thing, because that is going to make it it's going to look cleaner. And a lot of people get staining on their controllers and stuff like that. Even if you keep them clean, they can get interesting staining on there over time. Oils in your hands, that kind of thing. So I like that this is kind of something that they've probably thought out, was like, oh yeah, different colored controllers is cool, and personality and all that. But to start, I think the all black sleek design with the little pop of color is a good choice.
Steven, Chase, what do you guys think?
It looks like a Steam Deck.
Well, I mean, any handheld with a screen, kind of like, you're limited, you're going to kind of look like that. So we've also got the new logo, which is basically the same logo, but they just kind of...
That is the most creative logo I've ever seen in the history of Nintendo, and nothing can beat it.
It's the most what?
The most creative logo I've ever seen Nintendo ever produce.
They literally just nudged over the icon and slapped a 2 on it.
I
don't even know if they changed the Joy-Con shapes.
I do really think that they should have called it the Super Nintendo Switch, but
I would have liked it, but I get why they named it Switch 2.
Oh yeah,
because there's already people trying to claim, it looks too much the same. They didn't change anything.
All I'm gonna say is that guy on Etsy or Instagram had it correct, and the only color available right now to you, Nintendo, is you have to make the game cases black. You cannot do white, you cannot do blue, you cannot do green, and you very much cannot do red.
They could go back to light blue if they take the Wii U cases. They've already reused everything else from Wii U. Why not?
I'm just like, take black because your system's all black. Take black cases.
The problem with that, though, is historically, and Nintendo's done this on a few different systems, they saved black for the mature adult games for a lot of the time.
That's Japan's problem. I'm saying here in America.
Well, that's even here in America. Like,
Then what would you say for the outer shell, or for the shell of the GameCube games? They're all black.
Well, that was before they started doing this with the different colors. Like the Bayonetta games, I have them all in black. They did this for some of the ones on Wii U, things like that.
And
they tended towards that.
Rachel, in Japan, they're not that size. They're little tiny colorful boxes.
Yeah.
Oh. Well,
they're adorable.
I think if they're gonna do black, they aren't gonna do like the hard, like the matte black, not see-through thing.
Mm-hmm.
They should do smoky, so it's still see-through, transparent, but it's a dark color, and that can exist because I've seen Plexi, that color where it's a smoky color. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it comes down to how well the plastic holds up, because sometimes those, depending on the plastic.
But if they want to avoid a Wii U situation, they have to make them somehow distinct from each other. And if it's got which Switch 1 capability, then have like a red square on it or something.
Well, I mean, Wii to Wii U, if you're talking about cases, they were very different, because I mean, white versus very blue, like they were very distinct.
Yeah, but they basically said Wii on the front in the same logo, so it kind of.
I mean, every PlayStation game has PlayStation, so PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5.
Yeah, but those boxes are vastly different shapes. The PS1 was square, CD case basically, and then PS2 was
they were tall CDs, then they were actual CDs, and then they became the DVD cases, which. Yeah, then went from there. 3 had a couple different sizes. They were very weird.
But I've only seen one size for 3, but okay.
Well, the designs always change. There's like 4 or 5 different styles they went with. If you go back and look at them, they drastically changed. Like the case was the same, size-wise, but they kept changing their designs. I only noticed because I have to put them up on the shelf, and I'm just like, dear God, they look so inconsistent. So yeah, I'm curious to see how the case is going to be. We still haven't seen the cartridges, so we don't know how that's going to go as well.
And if they taste the same,
yeah, we have no idea. Makes me think someone in Japan is having to taste cartridges to test this out, and I just imagine that's someone's job. All right, lick this. It's just going to be weird.
That's supposed to last you the whole day when you lick it.
It's not an everlasting gobstopper. We saw the new dock, which is the same as the one that got leaked, but they did not show much in the way around the actual dock itself. I have gone back and compared the bottoms of the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 to kind of show that they're not going to use the same dock. They will not be compatible whatsoever. They will not connect to each other, which makes sense. Even electrically, I already knew they couldn't, because the Switch 2 is pulling way more power than the Switch 1 did. And if you could use the dock from one or the other, you'd either brown it out, which can cause damage by giving not enough power, or you could fry it by putting too much power through it. So as much as some people tried to argue with it, yes, they're not going to fit. You're going to have a different dock. I'm sure you'll be able to take like the power supply from the Switch 1 and plug it into the Switch 2 itself, just to maybe charge it slowly, but it will not operate like it's hooked up to the TV. So I'd end up, like I said, I took some photographs of them and kind of overlaid it to show it. I put those up on the Discord.
Better have a LAN adapter built in, otherwise we're going backwards.
It does. If the leaks themselves and everything show the hardware, which has so far been proven true, it still has the USB port, the HDMI port, and the Ethernet inside, just like the OLED dock.
Good.
So we at least have that. What I'm hoping for, though, is that the Ethernet operates as a USB 3.0, not a 2.0 adapter, because that was slower. But I
can
kind of worried that's the case. Yeah. Especially if they're wanting to do some of the online stuff that they're hinting at. Like, we need as much speed as possible. 2.0 ain't going to cut it. I also noticed, and yes, before anybody points it out, the old Switch did stick up above the dock a little bit. You had a thin little spot. On the new one, it sticks up. It's much more noticeable. It's like a larger section. And I was kind of wondering, like, could Nintendo ever use that as a notification type thing? Just be like, hey, you've got a message or something like that. Not so much of like writing text across it, but like, you guys remember on the Wii when there'd be like a message from a friend or an update, the disk drive would turn blue. You maybe do something like that, just kind of have it glow a little bit. It was then pointed out to me, I forgot, the Switch Joy-Con has a light around the home button. We just never see them use it, ever. So, okay, I guess they could have just done that. So, any other thoughts on the hardware design or anything?
Not at present. Maybe after the next update in April, I'll have more opinions.
April 2nd.
Yep.
Mom's birthday.
Chase, anything for you guys down there?
Nah, I'm just kind of waiting for April at this point.
All right. Well, along with the hardware, we did get our first peek at the first official Switch 2 game, which is an unnamed Mario Kart that we saw scenes of, which Steven was the first of us to notice and kind of pointed out that there are 24 starting points in that track. And then we went through in a couple different places, and actually counted out there are 24 racers that we have seen so far, which we don't know if this is the whole cast, but so far we have seen, and I'll go here, Mario, Luigi, Peach, who is in her old racing gear, no longer in the racing suit, by the way. Bowser, Daisy, Donkey Kong, which is more like the movie design now, like they've completely redesigned him. Yoshi, Rosalina, Toad, Toadette, Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, Baby Peach, Baby Daisy, Baby Rosalina, Pauline, King Boo, Koopa Troopa, and Shy Guy. The other thing also, Toad is apparently driving a cart directly off the cover art of an old Famicom racing game. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, a lot of people compared, especially when you see Mario go over a bump and you see him emote.
Yeah,
that
the squash and stretch.
The game's meant to be, seems like it's going to be an homage to the original Mario Kart artwork.
I'd be fine with that. I'm kind of curious. You guys think we're going to see any returning or new guest characters? Because like we didn't see any of the Animal Crossing stuff.
I actually don't want any guest characters in this one because I think back then they used it to help sell the Wii U version. So I want them to go strictly all Mario Kart on this
one. Okay.
I want Bowser Jr. in there.
He is in there.
Is he?
Yeah, he was listed there. The one I'm hoping for that nobody could really fully get is if Lakitu was back.
How does Lakitu press on the gas?
I don't see. Oh, there he is. I see him. He's at the very end. Okay.
There's a cloud.
Well, he's not the cloud. He's riding in the cloud. That's why you can knock him out and take the cloud. You're just taking his car. He's got feet.
I want the Mario Party characters to mainly be in it because I would like to have Dry Bowser. I'd like to have Ninja.
What if? I would like to see Petey Piranha in there, like he was in Double Dash. That'd be fun. You guys remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
What about? Oh God, he's also from Super Mario Sunshine. It's the old man Toad.
Bosworth? No. Dang, what was his name?
I don't remember his name right now, but old man Toad.
He'll probably be in one of the tracks.
Yeah.
Was he eever a racer? I don't remember him being in Mario Kart.
No, he never was. But
okay. I was like,
no. That's why I'm like, let's add him in. Let's do some left field racers here.
I wouldn't mind trimming out. Like, we're not getting some so drastic as like what Gold, Pink, Peach, and all that. No. I was like, okay, we don't need that all the time.
They could add some more stuff in from Odyssey, like any of the little races from the different worlds that you went to,
or any of those rabbits, but they'll probably be in stages.
Yeah, any of the rabbits. Yep. And then
I'm gonna be the T-Rex. Damn it.
Because I know that was a nice Yoshi one with the Yoshi restaurant, but I'm hoping for like a New Donk City track so I can hear the 1-Up Superstar again.
Oh yes, and then the people from Isle Delfino. I think that would be cute. because I remember having them in the
I'm
audience
a
in.
cookster.
Yeah, they tend to always be in the audience.
Yeah, I like them a lot. They're cool.
So the map that was shown is named Mario Brothers Circuit, but I couldn't really make out much of what made it a Mario Brothers Circuit
I
beyond
like
the
the
name.
Yoshi gas station.
Well, that was a restaurant. It was a drive-through restaurant.
It looked like a gas station too.
Yeah, the funny thing is there is a gas station at the very beginning of the trailer. That's a fire. It's a Piranha Plant gas station, I think, or
Oh.
Firefly, one of those two. It's right there in the top left. As soon as it starts with a car spinning on it, it just says something gas station or fuel. So I don't quite get what the connection to Super Mario Brothers is with just the desert map. But what I do find interesting is the map itself. Like the roads are super wide, which makes sense if you've got 24 racers on there at one time, because that's double what even Deluxe had. That was only 12. But there's a lot of spots you can see in the short bit of the map we saw that look like alternate routes. So maybe the maps can be changed to have different layouts, or it's even, some people thought, I don't know if it's going to go that far, as almost kind of an open world racer, like a Forza Horizon type thing, where it's point to point for some maps, so you can have different environments to go through. I don't really think Nintendo would go with that, but
When you play the new tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, they do these like really innovative things where the first 2 laps are the normal way on the track, and the third one takes you on basically the mirror of it, so you're going backwards. So you can get hit by the other racers, but they do it seamlessly. So I think that's what we're basically seeing is that the route will change on like a future lap, just to have it be different for that last lap, because they love to do that in the DLC.
Yeah, I've seen a few other games do that as well. Because the more I looked at this trailer, you would see. Funny enough, it got pointed out in another video I watched. The cones themselves have something living in them, so they were like getting up and walking in the background, like they'd move around, which is great.
That's where Lakitu is. Okay,
you better be in a cart. That's who I always use in Mario Kart 8. I've been using him for like the last 8-10 years now. So
he's
yeah,
in charge of the starting lineup and the cameras.
well, there's more than one Lakitu. That's like saying you can't have a Koopa Trooper. There's only one Koopa Trooper and you're throwing a shell everywhere.
I've never seen more than one. I kill one and it doesn't come back till later.
What if we had a Goomba driver?
Then everyone would be like, how?
It just drives
Just
with
see him
its
biting
mouth.
the wheel. Yeah.
You put him on a Segway. All he has to do is lean.
No. A hoverboard.
So speaking of vehicles, if we do get stuff from Odyssey, I want that scooter.
Ooh, yes, that would be
a good scooter to
The
run.
little moped. Yeah.
All I want though is absolutely no hover stuff, no upside down.
I love that.
Aw.
I think.
That belongs with 8. Don't put it in 9 or 10.
Well, I mean, they've got mechanics that happen in previous games that get carried over later. I mean, we didn't have the multiple boost until a later game, and that's
We've already had
stuck with it. Gliders have
Eurogamer
stuck with it.
and Kotaku say they want Nintendo to innovate.
Me looking directly into the camera, saying to Nintendo directly, "You do whatever you like, sweetheart."
Yeah, they've sold so many copies of Mario Kart, and they know they're going to sell so many of this one. They're just going to do what they damn well please, because it'll sell. I don't know. If they use it sparingly, I think in certain levels, the anti-gravity stuff was fun. Like being able to go up walls and stuff like that. Like one of my favorite courses from 8 was going up the waterfall, like racing past stuff as it's falling down was always kind of cool. And then other ones, you'd be above and below each other as you're going, you know. So we'll have to see. We have no idea like how many tracks, what this game is going to be based on. Do you guys think this will be a launch title, or is this going to be later?
I think it's likely going to be a special edition bundle that you can get it packed in, and or a launch title.
Do you actually think they're going to do a special edition at launch?
The rumor was that you'll get a regular system and a special edition system.
Interesting. Rachel, what about you? You think this will be a launch title, or think it'll be later? Based on what you saw?
The fact that they showed it right off the bat, and it seems functional, and it's not like a pre-made video, like with test footage and all that kind of thing. I think it's possible it could be a launch title, but I couldn't say that they've ever done a Mario Kart game as a launch title. So that's
Launch
kind of
window,
unusual.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's kind of unusual for them. But they're gonna have to have at least one Nintendo like first party like title as
Oh,
a
I'm sure
launch
they're gonna have
title.
a few.
So I don't know. It's
We're gonna get
difficult
Mario
to
Kart
say.
DX and Breath of the Wild DX, and we're gonna get Wind
Uh-oh.
Waker
difficult to say.
DDX.
God,
Difficult to say.
that'd been funny if they just called this the Switch DX.
Switch
I
stick.
do think though that maybe there's a secret Switch title that they have not announced yet that is going to come out for both like systems. Like
An open world, another code game. There you go.
yeah, like
Maybe.
where what they because they've done this for almost all of the systems that come later. They have they had Twilight Princess that was on GameCube and then Wii, and then they had Breath of the Wild that was on
There was on Wii U and Switch.
and Switch.
Yeah,
So
they stagnated the launch of both of those because I remember GameCube Twilight Princess was like a month after the
Maybe we'll get
Wii launch.
Zelda 99. We'll get 24 swords.
but it was still
Yeah, no,
it
I'm
was
just saying that's how they would usually do it.
yeah, it's still a cohesive kind of double launch thing. So I can see them doing something like that, but whatever it is, they have not announced yet. And if that's what they are going to do, we'll probably see that announcement at the April video thing that they're going to do.
Probably.
So that's
I'm
just
gonna
my
spend
thoughts.
a lot of money on April 2nd.
No kidding. And Chase, what about you? What do you think this Mario Kart? Do you think it'll be a launch title or you think it'll be later on?
It's a good question. I think there's a strong possibility this will be a launch title because there's gonna have to be there's gonna be some Switch 2 games that are gonna come out be launch titles because they're obviously gonna need you to have a reason to buy a Switch too.
Right.
Other than the fact that it's just a new Nintendo console, and plenty of people would buy it even if there wasn't any games, probably. But
I hate that I admit that. Yes, I would.
yeah, but I also think that the Switch 2 is in a good place because Nintendo's starting to understand the power of making the power of the remaster as well. So I think the Switch 2 launch titles is going to be
What are you
huge.
talking about, Chase?
Yeah. Got the same goddamn Donkey Kong Country game like 3 times now.
What are you talking about?
But it's such a good game though.
Hey,
But anyway,
if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There you go.
I think the Switch 2 is going to have the what's the word I'm looking for? I think the Switch 2 is definitely going to have a really good bolstered lineup basically because they're going to be like, "Oh, do you want Tears of the Kingdom remastered and other stuff?" They could easily do it. And as long as it looks and runs better, people will buy it.
So for me, I do think it's going to be a launch title, but for a different reason. I think we'll get Mario Kart at the beginning because of a lot of the rumored online functionality. 24-player Mario Kart would be a great way to show that off if they've actually got their shit together for online for once. And if it does have voice chat, if it does have a better online structure, if they have a new interface.
I hope it supports rollback.
God, so do I. It's not even so much their network; it's just if they code with it. That'd be if we could finally get a Smash Brothers one day that actually has working online,
or just give Smash Brothers rollback and people will be sold.
I would buy.
You know what? Again. Like 24 player Mario Kart is nothing. I want 24 players Smash Brothers. Give me that right now.
God, did you ever play 8-player Wii U Smash?
Yeah,
that was already insane, and I loved that. It was always so much fun. I don't think they're going to go the route of the remasters in that way of just kind of re-releasing. Hear me out. We're not going to get Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom ported again. I really don't think so. Because they've had a while that they're working on new titles. They're already pushing the fact that this is backwards compatible with your entire Switch library.
For the most part, with few exceptions.
Yeah, we were going to talk about it, but those exceptions are probably really limited.
And it's really, and I think honestly that
however you
kind of
ask.
language is really just them covering their own ass in
Mhm.
case something doesn't work. And it's, I can foresee it being some digital titles that aren't really well optimized for like a new system like that. And it might not even be first party. It would be like other stuff. I totally foresee all of their games working fine, but
Yeah. Um, like I said, they're going to want new games that are made for Switch 2, which I'm sure those are coming. And then you're going to have Switch 1 games that are released that being a market that's one of the largest in history at this point. It's almost bigger than the PlayStation 2's, selling point for that. You're still going to want to make games and have them support it. So we're probably going to see cartridges that will fit in both systems, that'll be played, maybe have different modes between them. They're already used to doing that. You technically have portable and docked mode. They would just have, portable and docked for each setup. That or the Switch 2 is going to run Switch 1 games as docked mode during portable, and then maybe when they're docked, have an enhanced mode they might use. Go ahead, Steven.
I just want to get off my chest a trend that I'm seeing that I want to reach out to all the publishers and or developers and say, stop doing that. And that is, do not take the hype and then just say, my game's gonna look great on Switch 2. If it's because it works, because it's a Switch 1 game, that's fine. But don't tell us you're going to put it on Switch 2 unless you're going to say you're going to improve it.
yeah.
Otherwise, all you're doing is you're just lying to us, saying like, you can play this game on Switch 2. It's like, when they're like, A Way Out's coming to PS5. I'm like, no, it's not. It's on PS4, and it just works on your PS5 with no updates or graphical changes. So don't lie to us like that. So when like that Bear game and Vampire Survivors said it, I was like, shut up, you two. All you're doing is just saying, look, our game's going to look great on Switch 2. No shit, because it's going to be the same game unless you tell us you're going to improve it.
I think
the
it's okay for publishers to say things like this. Our game will be compatible with that. Doesn't necessarily. I mean, I think that's an important distinction to make because then that tells people, oh, you can play this game on the Switch too. Doesn't necessarily mean there's.
If they say it like that, maybe then that's fine. Our game will be
Yeah.
compatible with Switch 2.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. But don't be like, our game's coming out for Switch 1 and Switch 2. I was like, no, it's not. It's coming out for Switch 1 and it works on Switch 2.
I mean, it's still technically still working on that. It's like if you make a game on Steam and it works on a Steam Deck.
I do get what Steven's saying,
yeah.
though. I do, because
Well,
it's all about how you say it.
Having to deal with all of it through the Xbox One to Xbox Series and then PS4 to PS5, listening to all that game speak where they're just like, our game's coming to PS5. It's like, no, your game works on PS5. It doesn't have any improvements. But when
language is important.
But when you went out and said, not only is our game backwards compatible, but it also has FPS boost, now you're talking, because now you're telling me it's gonna work differently. That's all I need to know. I don't need to know that the same game I've been playing works exactly the same on Switch 2. That's not exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's still good to say it's compatible and it is still playable on that, but
yeah, say it's compatible, but don't tease us saying like it's going to look great on Switch 2. Why?
I mean, Capcom's still doing it. They're releasing the Marvel vs. Capcom Arcade Collection. It never got a PS5 or Series X version. It was only Xbox One and PS4 because it would just play in both of them. And everyone's like, all right, well that's it. And they still said
technical reasons for that,
but it's still the same thing. They still said it's coming PS4, PS5, but they only released that one copy and it was backwards compatible. So developers are going to keep doing it for a while. But so I'm kind of wondering cartridge wise, if Nintendo is, I'm very curious how that's going to be designed. We joked about them having the tab on it like a 3DS game does, so you can't put it in a DS because everybody remembers that little thing. But what if they actually made, because it looked like there was more room on the entire cartridge slot when I saw it with the Switch 1 cartridge. And I was like, what if the cartridge is literally wider if it's a Switch 2 only game? Like they actually add an extra channel or two of data or some other part of it to give it more room for the chips.
You should add a tab on the top and the bottom so it looks like a 2.
God damn it. What the hell, Steve? That's great.
You know, the funny part is if they actually did that, I'd be like, yep.
That wouldn't even okay. That'd be a new one. Jesus, I would want that to continue forever. The Switch 3 better be a 3. Better. I don't care if it looks like a clock.
Think how they'll stack. Awesome looking.
Right. Oh, that'd be funny. But that would keep them from playing in the first Switch. I mean, it might just be the tab and they just have the same pinout and we'll just, memory's gotten cheaper. But Nintendo wants, I think they're doing everything they can to avoid that confusion of releasing the same games and all that stuff. That's why everyone was giving them shit, but they went with Switch 2. It's the most bare bone, basic ass name they could come up with, but it's also the clearest they could come up with. I agree. We don't know what the cases are going to be, but I 100% agree they better not be red because that's just God. Xbox One.
I don't trust
X,
Walmart to put them in the right spot.
They won't. I don't trust half these places to even carry them at this point. Like they just take all the games down anymore. But if they, I don't want them to do like what Xbox did, where they're both a shade of green and they look the same. And it's so hard.
Or
to tell
Xbox is like, because it works with everything, we're just going to say Xbox.
Yeah, Microsoft really screwed that up for a lot of ways. Trying to organize that in my house is nuts. So the cases need to be a different color or design. I think they're still going to be the small, thin cases. I kind of hope they are. They work well.
That's fine.
That takes so much less space than a normal. I mean, I guess they could go back to 3DS size if they really wanted to. So, I don't know. Would you guys be okay if they went back to tiny 3DS small cases?
No.
No, you guys didn't like the small cases?
I like small cases, but I don't like it for this.
I mean, you definitely know which one's which.
Yes, exactly.
So, all right. As we said before, with the backwards compatibility, they did mention that it will be for physical and digital titles, but they had a little asterisk note saying certain Nintendo Switch games may not be supported on or fully compatible with Nintendo Switch 2. What
It's
I think
ass
that's
covering.
Yeah, it's ass covering. It's Labo. We already said that's going to be a given. So that way people can't point it and go, well, I can't use these cardboard things. It's like, all right, look, I love that piano, but I get it. I'm not using that on the new Switch. It's fine. Everything else, like, I don't think they're going to go through and pick and choose what games are going to be compatible. I think it's just a cover all for them to say, hey, the software will be on here. They may have coded it in some weird way that is not compatible with this new setup that we could not have foreseen, or it could use some weird extra thing that will not be compatible to connect with this. Steven, you had a good example that potentially could be one of them, which is your Game of Life wheel. You have to tell me where you found that. I want one. I didn't even know they made that. That's amazing. And a lot of it does come down to, which I think they're going to do, but I don't know. Are we going to be able to connect Switch 1 Joy-Cons to it? Because I think we can. It's just Bluetooth. I mean, I think it would be dumb not to, because for a lot of people that have these,
I mean,
that's a good
sure,
reason to
maybe
carry it over.
as like in docked mode, as a peripheral thing, you can go ahead and turn them on.
Well, I mean, you have to
That's
do
fine.
it now for Switch Lights, or I do it all the time whenever my Switch is undocked. I have them off and using it.
Right, so that's fine, but obviously in portable mode, you can't use them. So
Yeah, it would have to be tabletop mode, but at least it would be able to connect. But like if
Yeah.
you're using it for stuff like that, it's like Ring Fit and so forth. It wouldn't matter if it's docked or just tabletop.
Yeah.
You're still connected to it.
I guess I think you maybe you'll be able to connect it, but there will be some features that are unavailable, obviously. So
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that's gonna be the main thing, because the controls are basically the same except for a couple extra buttons. So being able to use those, like especially if you're playing massive amounts of Mario Kart and so forth, you've already got those controllers. Use them, because they're pretty good about carrying over controllers from previous generations recently. I do wonder, will I get to use my GameCube controllers again? Will the USB adapter still work? I want that for Smash, damn it. So we're going to finally get more information about this on April 2nd. It's when they said the direct will be, where they talk about the more detail of the software, of the games coming to it, of the little bits of the hardware we're not aware of, things like that. They went ahead and announced it early because they wanted to give third parties a chance that if they want to announce their games are coming to Switch 2, they are now free to do so.
Nice.
Which we've already seen a couple little indie people say that. Yeah, we have. We've seen a few of them.
They're not Switch 2 games.
No, don't just write everybody off, Steven. Come
I
on.
want Assassin's Creed Shadows coming to Switch.
They can't even launch it now. Like, we're already
Bring
delayed
out March,
again.
right in time for the direct to talk about it.
Well, I mean, I don't like just writing off smaller developers going like, well, they don't count. Like, they're the ones that are there supporting it and doing that. Like, if they're saying they're coming to it and they're playing, at least they're saying something and able to do that now. The Vampire Survivors one, I think they're probably going to do more work on it than just port it, because they're usually pretty good about updating their stuff for other systems. But, you know, we'll see what other third parties can mention.
They did say they were working on a patch for cross progression crossplay. So
nice. And there's been a lot of talk about like No Man's Sky is probably going to get a Switch 2 update really early, which I believe it. Good God, they update everything. So we'll have to figure out where that goes. And then, you know, 2025 is our release year. We don't have a month.
I'm guessing it's going to be June, and it's going to be $400 to $450.
I'm thinking late June or maybe to mid-July. Probably around 400 is what I'm thinking. Chase, what about you? What's your guess? Time of the year?
1,200 New Zealand bucks.
Yeah, in US. Let's stick to US of realistic money.
I don't know.
Stick to where you can get the disc drives for PS5.
Pre-tariffs.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a clue on that, but I do want to go back to one thing though, real quick, because I didn't get to say it earlier. Just as a reply to you don't think that Nintendo's going to do any like remasters or remakes for the Switch 2? I just want to. I don't
think right off the bat, like they're going to do some.
I think fuck yeah they are, but that's beside the point. Anyway, I just wanted to take a line from a really great movie and say that's a bold statement, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out.
There's already the rumor that
dodgeball.
What do you call it? The Kirby 3DS game is going to get a remake. The Kirby Planet to Robot or whatever it is.
Nintendo was like late to the party as they usually are, but then they started like remaking games. They started making money on them, and they're like, "Wait a minute, we can actually."
They were one of the first. Remember, Super Mario All Stars was a remake of 1, 2, 3, and Lost Levels on the Super Nintendo, and then they had some NES games that were remakes of Atari titles.
Oh, Nintendo invented the remake.
Bringing back retro stuff's a little bit different. I'm talking about like where they just released like Tears of the Kingdom remake or whatever, stuff like that. I'm like, they're like, wait, we could re-release Tears of the Kingdom. It's basically the same game with a few extra with some but it runs a little bit better, it looks a little bit better, then we can make more money off of it.
So
okay.
Are we talking about like re-releases, remakes of like existing stuff that is
remakes, remasters?
So I mean, I'm just gonna give an example. That one Layton game with the girl, that was a 3DS game, and it's on Switch now.
Mm-hmm.
So
or does anybody remember Link's Awakening and then Link's Awakening DX? That had color and one extra dungeon?
Yeah, they fixed a couple things on that one. I mean, yeah, they're gonna do that for some of those as they bring it over, because I know that one they had to do for color. 3DS and Switch were both around for a while, so was that a port or just released on both? Because they shared time for a couple of years.
Yeah, I think because it didn't. This was well after, like, even though the 3DS obviously was still around at this time, I'm pretty sure they redid some stuff. They added in all the DLC, and when it came out on Switch, so I am really curious about that patent that is in the rumor section of our thing here.
Talk about that one a little bit. Like I said, they don't normally just port over games traditionally unless they're a couple generations out. Like the last Zelda we got that was a port was Skyward Sword. That was 15,
I just want them to put the rest of the Layton games out on there.
Oh, I agree.
Somehow.
I would love that.
And I think with that peripheral, possibly, it could be done.
Keeping ahead on me. I was trying to get to it.
We're talking about stuff, and we talked about the Kirby 3DS game, and it seems like a good time to bring it up. So
I was trying to get to it. All right, let me That's for my editing's sake, so I can actually separate it out. Otherwise, you make my life harder.
Yes.
We agree. All right. All right. So rumors for the Nintendo Switch. I'm just gonna be saying 3DS. You guys are breaking my brain here. So a patent was released a while back. Steven reminded me of this and sent it as well, showing an add-on upper screen for a handheld. Not one specifically, though the picture you sent, somebody had modified it onto the Switch 2 going, this must be for it. But basically would add a screen on top of the Switch or Switch 2 device so we could have kind of a second screen like a DS or 3DS, which could help with kind of porting over.
You can call it the DS 3DS Wii U kit.
NSODS when? NSODS when? That's all I'm saying. Makes sense? They put basically everything onto the Switch one. The next one could be GameCube and Nintendo DS and then 3DS. So
I kind of would rather them, for some of the GameCube games, give us a proper port, like a modern update for some of them.
100%.
But some of them would be great for Switch Online. I agree with that completely. I just have to look at that and see. This upper screen, though, I would be curious. Like, they would have to have a better mounting point. Like, the USB-C would hold it, and they're not that heavy. You can have a pretty thin screen for that. That thing would be a nightmare to be able to put away. Like, you'd have to either be able to fold it or
you just
have to
take
detach it every time. But imagine a kid trying to carry that around. Like, I love the idea. Don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to think of like how this would survive children.
So I imagine maybe there's a piece that we're not seeing that it attaches in there, and then there's like a way that it clips on the bottom as well to reinforce it. So, which means you wouldn't be able to put it in tabletop mode.
Hold on, hear me out. You would, because we've always wondered, why did Nintendo go with a back that instead of being solid is just a U, because then mounting brackets could fit through, clip on the bottom, and it could still stand up. Damn it, Rachel, you came up with the answer. Look at you being awesome.
I'm smart. I'm the smartest person in this room right now. Because guess what? The only person in the room with me is this dog, and she's as clever as she is stupid. So
here's a thought. See what you guys think. That screen, if they make it, needs to come with its own copy of the Kid Icarus Uprising, like its own special version, so you can connect it, play it, and actually play that. I love that game. It needs to come back.
No,
I want it without any touch controls.
I'd rather not.
The bottom screen already has touch.
I want single screen, no touch controls.
I would rather it be as it was, and if you're going to have that screen and use it, I think that would be a good game to bring it back and give you the options for it. Which, I mean, you could play it without they could update it and not have touch controls.
Case and I would agree that every copy of the second screen you buy should come with Affordable Space Adventures, and that's it.
That wouldn't work the same way, though. Like, this doesn't operate on its own from everything the patent shows. It would still be connected to the system. You're not going to have it docked with that screen.
Listen, we can dream, okay? This is the rumor section.
It just... None of it makes sense.
Suki's now participating in the conversation.
Because it's not going to be a gamepad.
I want Nintendogs and cats and llamas.
Suki agrees with the Nintendogs.
No, he doesn't. He's like, don't replace me.
She.
Sorry.
She's judging you.
Let her judge. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work. If that ever even comes to be, it's a patent, so it may just not even show up.
No, they patent stuff. They eventually do it. I can only think of like 2 times where they didn't. So
yeah, you can't throw a Pokeball without getting sued now. They patent stuff.
They removed that function too. That's a funny thing. The other thing we had rumbling about was the interface for the possible C button that we had mentioned, for a setup called Campus from Nintendo for the Switch 2, which could be basically a use for that microphone and kind of like their interface for allowing, messages and conversations with other players.
Wait.
I will only accept Miiverse with Discord functionality. If it's just Miiverse, it's garbage.
No, listen. What was that other note thing where people could draw stuff to people on the DS or
Swap
Switch?
note.
It's okay. What if it's like what if it's like a Switch? Wait, let me get my thought out before I lose it.
Hold on. Shush me.
Let me get my thought out before I lose it. What if it's like a Miiverse swap note situation that it's its own little social area for Switch?
You do know why they discontinued swap note?
Yeah. Obviously.
Well,
We don't need we don't need a Nintendo ID saying Jeffrey Epstein user 123.
No.
Lord. I don't know.
But
They need to have some kind of interface and ability to communicate with people, because not being able to even send messages or invites is aggravating for trying to play
games. I would like a 24-digit friend code.
As long as it's not as long as it's not connected through a dang app on a cell phone, I think we're gonna be okay. I think we'll be okay as long as they don't do that. We have told them enough times that we think that's stupid, and who uses it anyway? Nobody.
What if you can download that app on your Switch too?
Yeah, the first one that they actually had, I was trying to remember the name. It wasn't SwapNote, it was PictoChat. That was
PictoChat.
the original.
Yeah, I remember PictoChat.
Yeah, people would just send dicks everywhere.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, that's PictoChat.
Life
you give kids the ability to draw and share it, and that's what you're going to get.
Life was so much simpler then, where it was just little phallic drawings and the weird Superman S.
God, yeah, I remember hearing a story they were talking about when they first started showing off PictoChat with the DS launch, and apparently one of the people there had it connected. Miyamoto had his, and they were sending stuff, and someone sent him a picture. They drew a picture of a dick, and apparently Miyamoto had the most disappointed look on his face. Like, he wasn't even mad, he was just so disappointed.
He's not mad, he was disappointed.
Listen, he was disappointed and not surprised.
Well, I think they found who it was and kicked him out. Like, they were banned. I was like, whoa, good luck. Course. Yeah. So go ahead, Stephen.
So I have an anecdote I have to add because of what he said. Mm-hmm. But out of all these leaks and everything, our Lord and Savior Hideki Kamiya had something to say
that was
about all the leakers. And I'm going to tell you what he said verbatim because I think it was awesome.
This makes me think
a rough translation of his comments. I hope that all of the people who leaked Switch 2 information and those who helped leak it will be cursed for the rest of their lives to always have poop on the soles of their shoes when they get home. The shitty leaker only acts for his own pleasure and self-satisfaction. Not only is he not contributing to anyone's benefit, he is incurring all sorts of opportunity losses and has done nothing to be proud of in front of others. He is the worst of scum, so he should be covered in shit from head to toe and thrown out of the atmosphere, and then stop thinking and wander forever. These damn leakers are in a position of responsibility where they have access to information that only a very select few know, yet what they do is nothing more than an expression of a filthy desire for approval that lacks a shred of rationality. They are shameful people, so it is not the manufacturers whose secrets have been exposed who should be blamed, but these damn people, and they need to be crushed as soon as possible. End quote.
Listen,
God damn.
Listen, he's got a point, okay?
He does, but I did not realize it was that long.
He has got a point, and I agree with him. Mm-hmm. And to be in a world where one can be legitimately cursed by Hideki Kamiya.
And have poop on the soles of their shoe forever.
That is the worst curse imaginable. He's very
thrown into the atmosphere.
I hope these leakers have fear in their hearts now of Hideki Kamiya.
That's
because I sure would if I was them.
For sure.
They're going to get home from walking their dog and be really, really looking at their shoes really carefully. And they're going to do that for the rest of their lives.
It's not going to matter.
And it's not going to matter. It's still going to be on the bottom of their shoes. What a world, guys. What a world.
All right. So let's move on to our last little news bit here. So Genshin Impact developers Cognosphere was handed down a $20 million fine and is not allowed to sell loot boxes to any players under 16 without parental consent, according to the Federal Trade Commission. So this came down as a ruling where they were handed the fine and the rules of how they have to change everything, which They still have not determined how they're going to do that because they'll have
Yeah, I
to
was
find
about
a way.
to say, are they just going to add like a couple lines in the terms and conditions, and when the game
Like,
updates, you're going to
"Dad
be
nearby,
forced to
did he
agree
say yes?"
again?
And then you have to click yes. My dad said yes.
Well, I think they're leaning towards having to do some kind of age verification, which I don't know how that's going to work.
Oh, are they gonna? Okay, hold on. We're gonna go into the weeds here for a second. Are you guys familiar with the certain adult site that is recently now unaccessible in most, if not all, states now?
Mm-hmm.
And in order to get in, if you wish to get in, you have to apparently verify your age by providing your personal identification.
There's
That's gonna
personal
get
Face
flagged.
ID, there's driver's license, and then there's AI Face ID.
So they're what if they have to do that kind of thing? So this means that this could affect things like not just Genshin Impact, but things like Fortnite and other things that offer loot boxes and all of those things too.
Fortnite wouldn't count for that because I went back and looked at it. They don't have loot boxes. They have stores that they sell things, but here it is. Here's how long it's available. You buy it, you have it. They don't have anything that you buy and you hope you get it. So that's just a storefront. But
Okay.
But I know like EA is going to have problems with like Madden and some of their football games and FIFA with their soccer games.
Because the Ultimate Team.
Yep.
So
Yep.
anything with
Thank you,
gotcha like elements is going to be affected by this.
There's a good chance this could become a ruling that they reference going after other ones. So yeah, hopefully we'll
Overwatch. Unless Overwatch 2 changed that.
Overwatch 2 changed it. They had to get rid of it for good.
Yeah,
that's why they made an Overwatch 2. They're forced to.
Well, good thing Infinity Nikki tells you everything that you could possibly get when you do that kind of thing.
After 14 menus.
Yeah. It's all there. I think they're covered.
I think for verification, it's more of, like you said, it's probably going to be like you have to be a certain age and you'll have to agree to it. And if they find out you weren't, they can't be in trouble for it because you lied on the thing.
Yeah, you personally would technically be breaking the law.
Correct.
So,
but it's interesting that it's finally come down.
This is kind of delightful, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's like those mobile ads that try to sell me something, and then it says, "To prove you're an adult, please give us your full credit card number, CVV code, and date of birth." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm an adult."
Yeah, this is actually kind of delightful because I'm okay, this is going to sound really terrible. It's going to really they already know who I used to work for. So it's going to be like, I wonder if they're going to eventually have to actually verify their age when playing mature age games. If that's going to come to that. If we're at the
maybe, I mean, with that, if they get caught, there is a massive fine and everything for it as well. So there is a financial responsibility on there and their jobs.
Yep.
But I kind of wonder how far this will go where you have to be able, because part of the thing was also they did not have the odds of what it was. So like you would try and get these characters in the game, but they were not clear about these are the ones that would be available. This is the percentage of what one would be over the other and how they're actually working it.
Yeah.
How far outside of gaming can they go for that?
I mean, it's technically at its core, a gacha type system. If you're spending money on it, is gambling.
Yeah.
So technically, you have to be over 18 to gamble. So the fact that the 16-year-old thing like that, I think is kind of a mid, like meet in the middle thing. And that's probably, and for economic reasons, that they agreed on that particular age, or put forth that particular age. So because I'm wondering like how this could affect the economy with this kind of thing. So you'd be surprised what affects the economy with gaming.
Oh no, I get it. I just, because I'm trying to think of other big games like Genshin Impact that have those loot boxes. I know a lot of them are like predominantly mobile games. Like that's their bread and butter.
Does Zenless Zone Zero, is that a gacha?
It's gacha, but they're not loot boxes. It's just you'll either get something that's grade S, grade A, or grade B, and it tells you how many you'd have to do to get a guaranteed grade A, grade S.
And it's not by the same company, right?
Yeah, it is.
Huh.
It's part of the Hoyoverse. That's why when I read that article, I was like, "Oh no, they have to give away their fine is 1 day's take."
Yeah.
So
that's very interesting though that they would they would work that into their newer game with covering their own butts with odds and all of that kind of different stuff, but then not do an update
Well,
to have
his
that in
Genshin
him.
Impact is basically Breath of the Anime, so
I know.
it's made to be a lot larger in terms of what they
Yes.
can sell you,
Yeah.
in terms of costumes and all that. ZZZ is just character based, so there's nothing to unlock except for either what they call a W drive to strengthen your character that you'd install onto them, or a new character. It is not meant to unlock any cosmetics because they're not about that at all.
That's very interesting. I just thought that was interesting. That's all.
If there's anything I hate, because it's one of the pain points of multiverses, is cosmetics, because some cosmetics are brilliantly done and very well thought out, and some of them are just they put like a wallpaper over the character and it looks horrible.
Yeah, I'm hoping this will, because I don't mind. Some of the stores are kind of annoying, but I'd rather just tell me what I'm getting, how much it is, so I can just, if I want to get it, great. If not, fine. Because Overwatch was one that did make me just absolutely sick of it. I'd be like, oh, I really want this one costume. I would spend money trying to see if I could get it, and never got anything close. And I got stuff for characters. It almost like it was looking for what characters I had the lowest play time in. It's like, we're going to give you stuff just for that. I'm like, that's nothing of what I wanted. And I did that for a short time and then just never did it again. And I was like, all right, I'm done. So see if that's going to end. All right, so let's jump into the speed run real quick. All right, so quick little bits here. Nintendo announced that Alarma will be sold exclusively for Nintendo Switch Online users online until at least March.
New hardware in March.
Yeah, with limited store sales after that for North America, Europe, and Japan. Nintendo Europe tweeted kind of an explanation saying, quote, Alarma will remain a timed exclusive offer for Nintendo Switch Online members until early March, postponed from mid-January. After that, it will be available to buy from selected retailers in certain countries. Thank you for your understanding.
So that to me says we need more time to actually produce a mass amount of these so more people can purchase them. So we have to hold off on doing that. That's what that tells to me. And also, I guess tariffs.
Maybe.
So
I kind of joke that maybe the top of the Switch 2, that port, maybe they're just adapting it and you can just plug an alarm on the top to tell you, oh, you should stop playing for a while, take a break.
I think it's a stopgap on they have to produce more. They're expecting people to buy it, like a lot of people to buy it.
Yeah, keep selling out in the Nintendo store, and in there you have to be a Nintendo Switch Online member or part of the family group to buy it.
Yep. Next up, Sony filed a patent called Timed Input Action Release that is trying to lower input latency by using a camera to watch you play and track what buttons you are pressing and moving towards. They also hinted at the sensor being a camera itself with analog buttons to help. Both would be using an AI tool to monitor you and the controller to predict what input you are going for.
Wait, what would this be used for?
Basically for streaming games or playing games to give you faster input time, because it's watching what you're doing and guessing what you're doing.
Or to prevent you
from
from
lag
cheating.
in fighting games ever.
Also, no privacy in your house because cameras are watching you.
Yeah.
Sony's other little bit of news. Sony canceled an unannounced live service game for God of War. But multiple live service games Sony had planned were scrapped from Bend Studios and Bluepoint Games, because apparently this is the latest in the bloodbath that is closures of those titles that they had put so much money into. It just kind of went away. Yeah, Concord at least made it.
I had a disaster in my throat.
So, yeah. All right, let's move on to the big question. All right, so this week, I'm asking, what are some games that while they were flawed at release, and by that I mean maybe not sold as well, not that popular, or technically flawed, you felt they could have blown up if it was given a sequel? I'll start off for this one, and the ones I was thinking of that kind of fit with this had three. The first being Zombie U. I absolutely loved that game on Wii U. I think if it had gotten another chance, both for people to understand what the game was, and to mess with the mechanics. I think it could have become a lot more popular because it was really creative with how it made you use the gamepad to look away, and it never paused. So you're having to rummage through stuff or pick locks or figure out puzzles while things are still coming at you
It's just scary.
in the world. Oh, that game was freaky. I loved it.
I can't. I don't. No.
And they tried porting it to 360 and PlayStation. It's called Zombie, and it just didn't feel the same. Like it just didn't work as well.
No tension.
Say what?
There's no tension.
Yeah. My second one is kind of an interesting one. People probably think Metroid Prime Federation Force. I get it. The game wasn't the best, but I think part of the anger around it originally was because we had no other Metroid titles at the time. Like, and we were waiting and waiting and waiting, and this is what we got. In today's environment where we've had Prime Remastered, Metroid Prime Dread, we've got Prime 4 coming out, like it's a re-renaissance of the Metroid series. I think a new entry in Federation Force would go over better because it would lend itself to the cooperative action of having 4 people playing together in the universe of Metroid. Go ahead, Steven.
I honestly would think it would probably just do as well as Triforce Heroes, which is okay.
Well, Triforce Heroes, I didn't put that one on here because it was just fundamentally broken with how it worked. At least Federation Force still had a single player that was okay. But I think with newer stuff on like Switch or something like that, I think it would go over better. And then my last game was Star Trek Legacy. This was on PC and Xbox 360 back in the day. It was a great Star Trek game that covered everything from the original series and Enterprise all the way down to like Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and everything in between.
From Bethesda.
Yeah, from Bethesda. I wish they would make it backwards compatible. God, I wish. Great game for actually just kind of using the ships and playing around in that universe. If they gave it a sequel, I think it would, because Star Trek's kind of also seen a rebirth between all the new shows and everything, and they could add in so many more different parts of that universe that'd be playable. I think it could do a lot better. All right. Steven, what about you? What's your thoughts on this one?
So, all the 3 I'm going to mention were not flawed game-wise. They were flawed sales because of their timing.
Yes.
Right? And Snatcher was pretty bad selling on Sega CD because it was towards the end of the Sega CD's life when everything else was starting to come out.
Mm-hmm.
So while everybody's just having FOMO for it now, you now have to pay $1,200 to $2,000 if you want a complete copy, or find other means of playing it. The other 2 were the right games on the wrong system, I think. So if anybody remembers Operation Rainfall, it was...
I do. That's the whole reason why we have Xenoblade.
It started with us to get Xenoblade and became something much bigger because then it had basically a trilogy of games. Mm-hmm. And while Xenoblade went on to bigger and better things because it got sequels, it got remasters, remakes, re-releases, whatever you want to call them, 2 games got hampered by the hardware, and that is Pandora's Tower. And as much as I liked how it played, I hate how it looked, almost to the point where I couldn't keep playing it, and that was Last Story. It was just so muddy looking. There's too much going on, and it begged to have sharper graphics. Mm-hmm. So much so that I know there's people out there who have emulated it and probably make it look so much better with Dolphin and such. But those games, like, drastically don't even need a sequel. They just need to just be on a modern console.
Yes. The Last Story is also on, like, my list here, so I won't talk about it when it comes up on mine too. But I love that game. I love the music. I still have my collector's edition, like, on my shelf back there with the soundtrack, everything. And I liked the way it looked, but I felt that the city itself and the world was very empty. And I know that was a hardware struggle. Like, it was just, there was so much I think that they wanted to put in the game. And yes, the game, in some sense of the word, was supposed to be very bleak, but also not at the same time. But I think, to your point, it was a timing thing. I still hope that they somehow get it onto one of these modern systems. Both of them, really. They could do an Operation Rainfall collection if they wanted to.
I feel that Fantasia Neo Dimension is the perfect example because of the I'm not going to say gimmick, but because of the selling point of it, of all those realistic handmade backgrounds,
Mhm.
like made out of clay and
Yep.
other things, there are parts of the game that look really rough because they're super sharp character models on the blurriest background ever because it's a zoomed in realistic background or
Mhm.
pre-rendered. But nobody cares because the game's fun as hell. And the same
Yes.
thing would happen with Last Story in Pandora's Tower is, oh, it's cleaned up, it's easier to play, so it's more enjoyable. The only thing that doesn't work with is Majora's Mask. You could remake that 100 times and the game still sucks. But we'll go on.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah.
Rachel, what about you?
So the Last Story was also on my list, and we've already gone over that and the reasons why. I still hope that one day they end up on that'll end up on modern consoles. But there was other ones too, like Skies of Arcadia. They had two opportunities to get that right and to get some traction on there. And yes, it's in like the retro community and the adventure game community and RPG community, all of that, it's still very popular, but they've done nothing with it. And people out there ask, well, what's the holdup on getting something like that on one of the more modern consoles like Switch and all of that? Sega's the holdup. That's who's holding it up. It's Sega themselves. But then Legend of Dragoon is another one that never got a sequel, and it is popular to this day. The fact when it went on the PlayStation collection on PS5, if you're a Plus member, people lost their minds when it went on there, and every time it gets added to something, people are like, sequel when, sequel when, sequel when. And then the guy who made the game said one day, like a couple of years ago, I think, he's like, there will never be a sequel for this, like that's not going to happen.
Ouch.
And
Right.
I was literally like, well, that's disappointing, but why? People
Just
are
rip
obviously
the Band-Aid off.
yeah, but it just, I guess they just don't want to do it. Who knows? They might change their tune one day. You never know.
You never
I
know.
always say never say never.
We're
but
getting a new
then-
Okami for crying out loud.
Yeah, look at them. They're doing another one, and they said they'd never do another one. So here we are. But this question was kind of hard to answer because a lot of these games I didn't like that I am bringing up. I didn't really find flawed with their gameplay. The first thing that came to mind, of course, was No Man's Sky, and they fixed all of that. But other games that I think were they came out at a time where there was a lot of stuff going on at the time, like Eternal Sonata. There was a lot of JRPGs at that time because they were trying to do a JRPG where that was just popular. But I think it got very it was very muddy at that point where there was a lot of the same type of game coming out at once, and it got lost.
The only thing about Eternal Sonata I kind of wonder is how would you do a sequel to that? Because wasn't it a contained story?
It is a contained story, but you could do another game in the same universe with just a different composer. So this one had Frédéric Chopin on it. You could pick literally.
That's a good way to answer that. Then
you could literally pick any composer that you wanted to Bishoninify, and there you go. And do it that way. And it had a really interesting battle system. The music was awesome. It was really bright and colorful, and
it was a beautiful game.
It's also known as one of the few RPGs that has a 90-minute ending.
Yes.
So make sure you have nothing to do when you're beating it.
Mm-hmm.
Be like Christian and make sure that you have nothing to do when you beat it.
Yeah. I think you can pause the cutscenes. So, if you
everybody's always scared to press start during a cutscene.
Yeah, I mean, test it at the beginning just to make sure, because just to make sure to see, test at the very beginning of the game during a cutscene if you can pause during a cutscene. Easy way to figure that out.
I always hated the ones where you'd accidentally hit a button and just skipped, and you're like, "Oh God, I didn't mean to do that."
And then another one in this kind of vein, because it is a contained story as well, was Rogue Galaxy. Rogue Galaxy is a level 5 game. It's excellent. It's very unique. It's got a lot going on. It's a wonderful game. It is. You can play it on modern consoles. You can get it on the PS4 or PS5 digitally. It'll play on the PS5, but it's still a PS4 game. But it's very good. It's got a contained story, but they could once again do like offshoots with other characters in there. And I think it would do really well. But the real problem of this is level 5 has the tendency to bite off more than they can chew when it comes to games that they are developing simultaneously.
No.
So this is the
Really?
reason why, we're still waiting on Leighton in the World of Steam and whatever that detective thing that they've been working on for how many years now that they announced when the Switch was announced. So guess what? That's probably coming to Switch too, not the Switch. I think the World of Steam will probably come to both, but who knows?
Oh, and the guys who developed Eternal Sonata also made Batten Kaitos.
Oh, yeah. So,
Well.
hey, they were able to put out that game onto Switch as a collection. I don't remember though whether or not it was it what there was something about it. There's a reason why I didn't get it. I think it was a language thing, but I don't remember. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Not sure on that one.
Yep.
All right. And Chase, what about you?
Yeah, the flawed thing is what kind of threw me off on this one because I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
really have like a particular one that I think fits that this particular
Turn
question.
Team Buddies into a battle royal.
Well, I mean, like when they're like,
It's gross.
flawed
So-
in the way of like they may have not sold well or it didn't.
Yeah,
take
I
off with
think we
people,
were all
or
initially
technical, it could be either
interpreting
one.
the word flawed as in flawed gameplay, or there was something inherently wrong with them.
I mean, I guess to kind of fit that, even though it's a sequel of its own, I guess the obvious one for me would be Titanfall 2. Like the fact that we never got the third one, I think
When
is
I was
I will
when I was
allow it.
doing listen,
I
when I
agree.
was doing research on this, going what? And I was like looking up games that never had sequels and stuff like that. And literally one of the first games on everybody's list, like the number one, was Titanfall 2.
Yeah,
So
because
that's kind of funny.
the first one was multiplayer only, and it was flawed because of that. And then they're
Yeah.
like, "Well, we're going to give you a campaign in the second one."
Because
And
even
now the
its,
second one's legendary.
even its
And
story
it's-
mode was just a series of rounds with multiplayer rounds.
Yeah, and Titanfall 2 is probably like legitimately close to a 10 out of 10 for me. Like if there's ever a game I was going to give a 10 out of 10 to, it's probably going to be Titanfall 2.
I had
That
fun
story
watching
was-
the
$3,
game.
guys, buy it.
Yeah, exactly. Like do yourself a favor, buy it.
It's like
cheap.
$2 right now.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
It's like legitimately one of the best games I've ever played. One of the best shooters I've ever played. The other game that came to mind, I guess not getting a sequel that I've wanted for ages is Star Wars Republic Commando. It never got a sequel.
Ooh.
I want one. And
That
there
would
was a
be a
rumor
good
a
one.
while back that EA was going to make a Star Wars Imperial Commando, and I was like, good God, if this is true, and you give it to the Respawn people, shut up and take my money. But then
I
it
mean,
just...
think about it. Sorry. Because like, yeah, with Republic Commando, they could go further, and you've got like what the other shows they've done, like the Bad Batch, showing like what happened with some of the clone troopers when they were older and rebels. Like they could continue them beyond it. Oh God, I'd be there for that.
Well, it ended on a cliffhanger anyway, because one of your
Mhm.
teammates gets like captured, so to speak. Like he gets captured over the radio, and you don't know what happened to him. And then like it always kind of just ended on this cliffhanger, and then like nothing ever got like explained or resolved. So like, yeah, I always wanted something to follow that up, and then. Like I said, there's a rumor a while back that Swan showed me because there was talks that EA was going to do an Imperial Commando, which I thought that would have been really fucking cool to like be like a Republic Commando when they transition to the Empire. I was like, man, that'd be awesome. But yeah, those would probably be the first two that come to mind for me because Republic
choices.
Commando wasn't even like a bad game. Like the shooting and like the how you could tell the squad mates to like do different things like sniping and all that stuff. It was really smooth, really fun game.
Yeah, it did get really good with being able to control your teammates, and it had some, I guess you could say, thematical borrowing from Metroid Prime, not in a bad way. Like
Yeah,
the heads up display with the screen, like stuff splattering on it, you'd see it clear off, and the Genoshan bug people's guts flying everywhere.
yeah. Anytime
it
you
was-
hit him with a knife, then like guts would splatter all over you and stuff. Or like if you hit a droid, it'd be oil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they re-released that not too long ago on Switch, and it was pretty. I think it did pretty well in there too. So
yeah, Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox, I think, all got a re-release, and it's fun. It's still fun to play.
Yeah, the sequel was canceled in 2004, and there's concept art that exists. But after the game Republic Commando came out in 2005, they were already working on the sequel, but got
man,
canceled.
that game was great. I would have loved to keep going with that. All right, so I think that about wraps up tonight. All right, so you can find the podcast in audio form wherever you listen to your shows, and the video version over on YouTube at our channel, Zenspath COM. Both can easily be found over on zenspath.com/podcast as well. Leave us a review if you can to help us grow. Like and share the show with others. Leave us a comment on YouTube to tell us what you feel about the show, or maybe answer the big question for this week. What are your titles that either technically or financially or just sales-wise, whatever, were flawed in how they released and you think could come back or do better with a sequel? I guess I could have worded that better. You can also talk to us directly over on Discord as the easiest way to find us and chat with the latest news and happenings. Link for the Discord server is bit.ly/Zenspath Discord. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up tonight. So this has been episode 158 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast, and we're out. Peace.
Did we win the game of life?
Got a 1. Switch 1.
Oh.